And today we are back in day 1 and day 2. We didn't get to day 3 yet. There are plenty of work to do. So the idea came to mind after I read Genesis myself, and we did those 2 videos. I wanted to dig into more dry analytics. When we're talking about dry analytics, Chat GPT comes handy. But I decided, I'm just going to do voice over text and let Chat GPT give me as much analytics as possible on the first 8 verses of Genesis. From here to here. That's it. Guess how many pages Chat GPT come up with? 30. As any AI, we cannot trust dry analytics, but we can use it. So whenever I'm doing voice over text, there will be times when I will say, this is coming from me, so that you know there's a distinction. There will be few moments I'm not in agreement with ChatGPT, so that just opens the door for more searching and discoveries. And that's okay. The idea is to find out how this foundation of where we're at was created by Creator God. And once we know what state we are in today, after we learn how He created the foundation, then we can do reverse engineering and bring things back to good or even very good. So that's the goal. The way I'm going to be reading it, it was logical decision because last time we used NIV, I did not like NIV by itself. Sometimes it gives a good feel on interpretation, but I did not like it. So I decided, what are there other Bible that are more trusted? So American Standard Version turned out to be the one. So we gave a task to Chat GPT to do comparison on 2 Bibles of those 8 verses. And that's what it's all about. Again, 30 pages. Remark, I can make mistake. In this particular case, simply because Chat GPT can make mistake. Let's go. So Genesis 1:1. Oh, before we get any further, there's 2 things you can use this video for. One, if you having a hard time to fall asleep, you can just plug this in, and I guarantee 15 minutes later you're going to be sleeping. The same thing that preventing you from grabbing Word of God, Bible, and read it will work against you, keeping your mind sharp to learn the truth. So it might be used as a MSAR video, so first time. For those that would like to learn the truth, I recommend grabbing a cup of coffee as usual, and let's move on. Genesis 1:1. ASV, I will use it as a short description of American Standard Version Bible. NIV, it will be this other. So ASV, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. NIV, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Comparison. No wording difference here. They say exact the same thing. Key meaning. In the beginning. Mark the start of time itself. Not after something, but the beginning of everything. God creates, creation by God alone, the heavens and the earth. God creates everything that exists. Deep inside, the Bible doesn't start by explaining God. It starts with God already is. No origin given. No introduction. Simple takeaway. Genesis 1:1 is saying everything that exists begin with God. Genesis 1:2, American Standard Version. And the earth was waste and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. New International Version. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Key differences. Waste and void versus formless and empty. ASV, waste and void, more raw, closer to original wording. NIV, formless and empty, easier to understand. Meaning, the earth had no structure and no life yet. Second distinction, face of the deep versus surface of the deep. ASV, face, more literal. NIV, surface, interpreted. Third, moved versus hovering. ASV, moved upon, gentle movement. NIV, hovering over, like a bird hovering over its nest. So NIV actually gives a good feeling here. Deep meaning. This verse describes the state before order. No shape, no life, darkness, deep waters. But something important is happening. The Spirit of God is already present, not distant, but active and near. Powerful image. Think of it like this: chaos, formless, empty, dark, God's Spirit hovering, creation about to begin. Key insight: before anything is formed, God is already there, moving, preparing. Subtle observation. The verse does not say God created chaos. It says the earth was in that state. Simple takeaway. Genesis 1:2 shows the world begins in potential, not order. And God's presence is what brings structure. Genesis 1:3, NSV. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. NIV. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Comparison. There are two almost identical verses. One only difference. NIV add quotation marks, modern style. SAV keeps older punctuation. What matters here? God said. This is huge. Creation happens through speech, not effort, not struggle. Just word, reality. Let there be light. Light is the first thing created, before sun, moon, stars. And that's very important and mysterious. And there was light. No delay, no process described, immediate fulfillment. Deep meaning. Light represents more than just physical light. Order over chaos, clarity over darkness, life over emptiness. Powerful pattern begins. From here, Genesis repeats a structure. God speaks, something happens, God evaluates. It was good. This pattern builds our entire creation story. Simple takeaway. Genesis 1:3 shows reality respond to God's word. Light is the first step from chaos to order. Verse 4, where God separating light from darkness. This introduces the idea of division and structure. And now let's check. In the previous video, I mentioned a connection about light Lord. Let's check about light Lord connection deeper here. It is very important and honest question, and we need to be precise here. In the book of Genesis 1:3 does not say that God created the Lord or a separate being when he created light. What Genesis 1:3 actually says. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. That's it. It says God created light. It does not say the light is a person. It does not say the light is the Lord or a son. Where the idea come from? The connection between light and person comes later, especially in the Gospel of John. In him was life, and that life was the light of man. And the light shines in the darkness. Christians understand this light as Jesus Christ. Important distinction. In Genesis original context, light equals created reality, physical and symbolic order, clarity. In John, and Gospel of John, later interpretation, light equals spiritual, personified, connected to the Son, Jesus. So is Genesis talking about the Son directly? No. Symbolically, depending on the belief. Some say yes. There are two main views. Strict reading, Genesis means exactly what it says. God created light. Nothing more is implied. And second, theological reading. Later, readers see a deeper layer. God created through his word. That word is later described in the Gospel of John. So light may point forward, but not explicitly stated. Key point. Genesis does not say God created another being, or God created the Lord as light. It says God alone created light. Why this matters? This keeps the foundation clear. In Genesis 1, God is the sole creator. Everything else created by him. Light in Genesis could be seen as symbolic or divine presence of truth. And this is from me. Could it be a wisdom? But it is not described as a separate person or Lord in the text itself. Why light comes before the sun? Moving on. Timeline in Genesis. Day 1, light created through Genesis 1:3. Day 4, sun, moon, stars created. So clearly light exists before the sun. Main interpretations. Physical light. Most common view. God creates light itself first, like energy. Then later, sun, moon, stars, additional lights. Think of it like first light exists, then God assigned objects to manage the light. Order before structure. Genesis is very structured. Day 1, 2, 3, light. Sky, God created the sky, the expanse, which is also called heaven. Land and plants with fruits, with seeds. And day 4 to 6, God created sun, moon, stars, birds, animals, and humans, bodies and seeds. In Genesis 1:1 it says heavens plural. That opens a whole new layer about multiple levels of heaven. Pattern. First, create environment. Then, fill it. That's logical. So day 1, light, dark. Day 4, sun, moon to govern it. And here's from me. I did not see direct equal meaning when in the verse 14 later we're going to be learning in the verse 14 Genesis when God created lights. In the 3rd he created light. In the 14th he created lights. So it says further that he created the greater light and the lesser light. And stars. It does not say that the greater light equals the sun, and it does not say that the lesser light equals the moon. That's the way I got it. Let's get back to it. Theological, symbolic meaning. This is where it gets deeper. In ancient times, many cultures worshipped the sun. And this is from me. Could it be that they worship the light and some crafty animals, some scientists, interpret it as they worship the sun? Genesis does something bold. It shows light existing before the sun, meaning the sun is not divine. It is just created object. Powerful message. Genesis is quietly saying, light does not come from the sun. It comes from God. And we just recently learned Gospel of John say, in him was life, and that life was the light of man. The sun is just a tool. Deeper reflection. This connects to my early thought. Light meaning purpose. It suggests source is more important than instrument. Another subtle detail. On day 4, Bible doesn't even name the sun and moon directly. It calls them greater light, lesser light. This may be intentional to avoid giving them too much importance. Or, this is coming from me, it did not talk about sun and moon. Simple summary. Light equals created first, foundation. Sun equals created later, function. Light is primary, sun is secondary. Big insight. Genesis may be teaching reality is not driven by visible things like the sun. It is driven by something deeper, God's word. Next is verse 4, and that's where God starts separating light from darkness, which introduces a whole new concept, division and boundaries. Verse 4, now we move into separation, which is the key theme in creation. Genesis 1:4, American Standard Version. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. The New International Version. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. Key differences. Divided versus separated. ASV, divided, more literal. NIV, separated, more modern wording. Same idea, but divided feels stronger, more absolute. Separated feels smoother, easier to read. Second, sentence structure. ASV uses older punctuation, that it was good. NIV flows more naturally. Meaning stays the same. What happening here? God saw it was good. This is the first time God evaluates creation. Good equals fitting, right, functioning as intended. Second, separation begins. This is huge. God doesn't just create, he organizes. Light exists, darkness exists, now they are separated. Why separation matters? Creation is not just about making things, it's about setting boundaries. Examples coming later. Sky versus water, land versus sea, day versus night. Deep inside. Before this, light and darkness are mixed. After this, order appears through distinction. Symbolic meaning. Many see this as light equals order and clarity. Darkness equals unknown, chaos. So God establishes structure out of confusion or chaos. Important observation: God does not destroy darkness. He separates it, meaning both exist, but they are put in their place. Simple takeaway: Genesis 1:4 shows creation involved separating and defining. Order comes through boundaries. Connection to life. This pattern still applies. Clarity versus confusion, right versus wrong, order versus chaos. Growth often comes from learning to separate things correctly. Genesis 1:5 ASV. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day. NIV. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Verse 5, naming day and night. This is where time begins to take shape. Great, now we reach the moment where time and naming begin. This is a key shift. Key differences. Capitalization. ASV, day and night, starting with the large D or N. NIV is not. Style differences. No change in meaning. And here's from me. To me, change in meaning is huge. Day with the large D and night with the large N. Put them on categories of power. It does not say day with the larger D and N with the lower N, just like in the chess game. Back to Chat GPT. Second distinction, one day versus the first day. ASV, one day more literal. NIV, the first day, interpretation. Hebrew says Yom Echad, day one. This is important. So in this particular example, we clearly see that ASV is the winner. Why day one matters. It doesn't say first in a strict sequence. It suggests a beginning unit of time, the start of counting, or a unique kind of first moment. Evening and morning. Both versions agree. Evening, morning. This defines the full cycle. Important. Day begins with evening, then moves to morning. This is different from modern thinking. And for me, we touched about it in a previous video. I was able to capture that. Deep meaning, naming. God called. Naming equals authority. God is not just creating, He is defining reality. Second, time begins. Before this, no days, no cycles. Now, time is introduced. And the third, order is established. Light, day, darkness, night. Clear structure. Big insight. Creation is moving from chaos to order, from undefined to defined, from timeless to structured time. Subtle observation. God doesn't remove darkness, He names it. He assigns it a place. And this is coming from me. He assigns a purpose. Darkness becomes part of the system, not eliminated. And this is from me, participating. Simple takeaway, Genesis 1:5 shows God created time, rhythm, and structure. Naming gives things identity and purpose. And this is for me. Later we will see Adam got a task from God to name animals. And my thought was that with name, he's supposed to give them purpose. So we clearly see that naming and giving the purpose aligned here. Where are we now? We completed day 1, verses 1 to 5. Next step, verse 6. Day 2 begins. This is where it gets really interesting. Separation of waters, creation of the expanse, sky, heaven. Genesis 1:6, ASV. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. New International Version. And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. Key differences. Firmament versus vault. ASV, firmament, older, more literal tradition. NIV, vault, modern explanation. This is a big translation difference. That's from Chat GPT. What is firmament? The Hebrew word is rakia. It means something spread out or stretched out. Possible meanings: sky, expanse, dome-like structure. And coming from me, heavens. Why vault? NIV uses vault to help modern readers imagine a space separation, two regions. What actually happening? God is creating a separation within the waters. Waters above, sky, expanse, waters below. Important question. What are waters above? Different views. Ancient world view, sky seen like a dome, waters above equals rain source. And the second modern interpretation, waters above equals clouds, atmosphere. Key theme, separation continues. Day 1, light, darkness. Day 2, waters versus waters. Deep meaning, God is not creating a new material here as much as organizing space. He is making room, structure, environment. Subtle observation. Unlike day 1, God does not say it was good yet here. It comes later. This has made many readers pause and ask why. Coming from me, he didn't want to come up with a negative. So to me, it means that it was not good. So he chose not to say anything. Big insight. Day 2 creates the space where life can exist. Without separation, everything equals chaotic water. With separation, sky, atmosphere, environment, and coming from me, heavens. Simple takeaway, Genesis 1:6 shows God creates space by dividing. Order grows through structured layers. Verse 7, where this separation is actually carried out. This will clarify the waters above the waters even more. I hope so. And here it's interesting. I am great. Let's continue. That's Chat GPT giving himself a compliment. And you know how the Chat GPT put in those little images? Well, it looks like a snake. I'll put it on the video so you can see and decide if it looks like a snake or not. Genesis 1:7, ASV. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. NIV, so God made the world and separated the water under the world from the water above it, and it was so. Key differences. First, firmament versus world again. SAV firmament, NIV world. Some Hebrew word rakia as verse 6. Second distinction, divided versus separated. ASV divided, NIV separated. Same meaning, clear boundary is established. Third, and it was so. Both include this phrase. This is important. It means what God said fully happened. No resistance, no delay. What's happening here? Verse 6, command. Verse 7, execution. God speaks, then it becomes reality. Visual picture. Waters above, clouds, sky region, firmament, sky, and for me, heaven. Waters below, oceans, deep. Deep inside. This is not just about water, it's about creating layers of existence, above, middle, below. Why this matters? Before this, everything equals one chaotic mass. After this, the world becomes structured. Subtle observation, again. No, it was good yet. In the day 2, remember? This is the only day where that phrase is missing at this stage. Many notice this. Possible reasons. The process is not complete yet, or day 2 comes forward to day 3. And as I mentioned, for me, things were not good yet. Big idea. God is building a framework for life. Space above, space below, environment in between. Simple takeaway, Genesis 1:7 shows God establishes structured true separation. His word becomes reality. Next step, verse 8, this is where the firmament gets a name and day 2 is completed. Genesis 1:8, American Standard Version. And God called the firmament heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. New International Version. God called the world sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. Key differences. Firmament versus world again. Some Hebrew word rakia, but ASV firmament, old literal style, NIV world, modern clarity. Second distinction, heaven versus sky. This is a big interpretive difference. ASV heaven, NIV sky. These are not identical concepts. Heaven, older usage, can mean sky, can mean spiritual realm, more layered meaning. Sky, modern usage, atmospheric space only, physical interpretation. What God is doing here? This verse is not creating new material, it is naming what was already formed. Structure so far, day 1, light versus darkness, day 2, waters divided, sky space created, heaven space created for me. Day 2, final, naming the space, sky, heaven. Deep inside, in ancient thought, naming equals authority. So when God names heaven, sky, it means this structure is established. It has identity. It has purpose. Evening and morning, this phrase repeats, second day, meaning creation is structured in cycles. Time itself is being ordered. Important observation. Day 2 is unique. No, it was good statement here. Only naming plus completing of cycle. This has led readers to ask, is day 2 incomplete or pointing forward? Big picture, day 2. God creates separation, waters above, below, space, sky, expanse, heaven, identity, naming it. Simple takeaway, Genesis 1:8 shows God gives identity and order to creation. Structured reality is now named and defined. And this is it for today. The verses of the Bible, NIV and ASV, will be put in the video so that you can visually see it with some additional information. We're going to use this video to get deep insights out of it when we go to the next one. Thank you, everybody. Let's get deeper into finding the truth. This is what it's all about, to enlighten the world where we're living. Thank you.